53 for the overnight low. On Friday, periods of showers, non-severe thunderstorms, but no all-day rain. This is not a real big system. 78 for the high. Then Friday night, any showers fade quickly in the early evening. 55 for the low. The weekend, last weekend of April, Saturday, partly sunny. Let's call it nice, though it is cooler, 69 degrees. Saturday night, partly cloudy, 49, and Sunday, partly to mostly sunny and 74. I'm meteorologist Dave Murray on 104.1 FM, KMOX.
At the moment, it's a cloudy sky, 77 in St. Peter's, also 77 in Florissant, and 76 downtown at the Arch. I'm Michael Calhoun, KMOX News.
Come on, let's get going now.
From KMOX Sports.
We're primed and ready. All day, baby. Man, let's go.
This is the Gray Bar Sports Open Live. Gray Bar, your distributor for electrical and datacom needs on 104.1 FM, KMOX.
Here we go on a Thursday night. Welcome in, everybody. It is a Gray Bar Sports Open Line. My name is Matt Pauley. Great to have you with us tonight. Full 2-hour program, second straight night of that. No Cardinals baseball. They got the day off today. They're back at tomorrow as they are going to open up a series against the Milwaukee Brewers. They will be more rested than the Brewers, who just wrapped up a game against the Giants less than an hour ago in San Francisco. So the Brewers are back in their clubhouse right now, getting changed, and they'll hop on a plane and be in St. Louis here in the next few hours or so. Certainly getting in plenty of time. They won't be overly tired or anything like that. But, hey, it was good to see the Giants come away with that win. The Brewers were leading late in this game, and I believe I wasn't watching. I was just kind of monitoring what was going on. I believe there was an error. Christian Yelich committed an error that resulted in 2 runs scoring there for the Giants in the 8th inning, and they turned a 1-run deficit into eventually a 1-run victory. So big series coming up, really big series coming up. Let me rephrase that. As big of a series as can be, like in April, for a team that's got a below 500 record. So this is as big of a series as this version of the Cardinals can have right now, because it is a series against a divisional opponent. It's a series against a divisional opponent that's ahead of you in the standings. And it's an opportunity to just try to get right, because the last thing you want is, right now they're on a bit of a slide. You don't want that thing to keep going. You want to hop off that and get back going. And the Cardinals have been really good at home this year. They've been terrible on the road. They cannot buy a road win, seemingly, where they are 2-11 on the road. That's almost hard to do. 2-11 is just a bad record. Teams with less road wins in Major League Baseball, the Rays only have 1, but they've only played 5 road games. You know, they're playing there at the minor league complex, the Yankees minor league complex in Florida. And what they did there was, because it gets so stinking hot in Florida in the heat of summertime, they have front loaded their home schedule. So they're playing a vast majority of, so they've already played 19 home games. They're on the road right now, but they're going to be back there sooner than later. They flipped some series around. So they did that. So that's why they've only played 5 road games. They're going to put them on the road a lot when it gets to June, July, and August. So the Rays have 1 road win, but that's not really a fair comparison. The White Sox are also 2-11 on the road. Never good when you are being compared against the White Sox. And the Atlanta Braves, interestingly enough, are 2-11 on the road. And then the team that has the worst road record in all of baseball and has just the worst record, like, they are on pace for a historically bad season, your Colorado Rockies, who are 4-19 overall, including a 1-13 record on the road. But it's not good when it's the Cardinals and the White Sox and the Rockies that are all in the same area. So it's baseball. It's going to turn around. Oliver Marmol mentioned this. I think it was on Gas House Gang earlier this week that, it was either last year or 2 years ago when they couldn't win, what was it, a series opener to save their lives. And we just made a huge deal of that. I can't tell you how often it's happened, whether it's been here or other teams that I've covered, where in the first 2 months of the season, for some reason, a team has a really good record on the road and they're not very good at home. And everybody comes up with this, like, the conspiracy theories of why a team isn't good at home. And then it all just kind of fixes itself. So the Cardinals are not going to play at a 2-11 road pace this year. I am very confident of that. When when the season gets done, their road winning percentage is going to be better than what it is right now at 2-11. That being said, got a weekend at home. Take advantage of it. Go win 2 out of 3. Go sweep the Brewers. Go kind of make yourself feel good again, because things just don't feel great right now. And they're not buried in the division. They've got the worst record in the division. I'm not running away from that, but they're not buried. If they go on a little bit of a run, they're right there. Cubs have had a nice start to their season, to be sure. They're 16-10. They've gotten some good wins too. That's been the frustrating thing about the Cubs here. They just took 2 straight games against the Dodgers, and before that, they took 2 of 3 against the Diamondbacks. They've had a tough schedule. So they've already played the Dodgers twice, the Diamondbacks once. They've played the Padres on the road. They've played the Padres twice, excuse me. They've played the Rangers at home. Rangers are not a bad team. They had another series against the Diamondbacks. The only PUD team that they've played so far this season was the A's. So I'm not trying to raise red flags here, but that's kind of the scary thing about the Cubs. They're 16-10, which is a really good record. And they're 16-10 against a really, really tough schedule. They've played a bunch of good teams to start the season, and then that's going to continue tomorrow. They're going to take on the Philadelphia Phillies, which, if you haven't really been paying attention, Phillies are they're not in the best spot right now, and they're going to be really good when all is said and done. But if you want to catch the Phillies, this is probably the time to do it. And the Cardinals did that. The Cardinals took 2 out of 3 against them, which was a really good series win, but they just got swept by the Mets in New York. They're a team that was a legit World Series contender. Not that they're not now, but they've just got some things kind of going wrong. So again, for the Cubs, it's probably a pretty good chance to catch the Phillies, unless this is the moment where the Phillies are going to sort of turn things on. So anyways, we got a lot going on here on the program today. We'll preview this Brewers series, kind of tell you where things are at, continue a lot of the conversation that we have during Redbird Rush Hour. Should we expect some sort of roster change before tomorrow? Is Ryan Fernandez going to be on the roster? Is it going to be simply him out and somebody else in? Is there going to be a bigger shakeup to try to get the bullpen going? I don't know. But I would be surprised if the roster looks exactly the same tomorrow night. Bluntly, I would be surprised if Ryan Fernandez was on the roster come tomorrow night. I think I understand that the Cardinals were trying to get him to a spot where he could work out of things at the big league level. In a perfect world, that would have been in low leverage spots. They haven't had many low leverage spots, and it hasn't been great. So just taking a little bit of pressure off of him, letting him get to Memphis, finding himself again, and then getting him back to St. Louis where he can be a weapon in the bullpen again. To me, that seems like something that makes sense. We'll see if that's something the club ends up doing tomorrow. So we'll talk through all that. We've got a bunch of guests who are going to be on the program today, including our friend Daniel Guerrero, who covers the Cardinals for the Post-Dispatch and STL Today. He joins us in just a moment. This is a Gray Bar Sports Open Line on KMOX.
Some people follow the rules, but where's the fun in that? I'm Soraya, and this is Rule Breakers, the podcast where we celebrate the rebels, the risk takers, and the ones who make their own way. Every week, I sit down with the boldest voices in sports, entertainment, and beyond to talk about breaking barriers, defying expectations, and rewriting the rules. No limits, no apologies, just real talk. Follow and listen to Rule Breakers with Soraya, an Odyssey podcast available now for free on the Odyssey app and wherever you get your podcasts.
Will new tariffs impact small businesses? Rising costs and economic uncertainty can hurt your bottom line. But with Swish Funding, your business can stay strong. We offer fast, flexible funding solutions from $10,000 to $2 million for working capital, cash flow, and more, and as little as 24 hours with no collateral needed. If your business earns at least $50,000 per month and has been around for over a year, you could qualify today. Go to swishradio.com and use code RADIO. Swishradio.com, code RADIO.
I had the worst dream last night. You were in a car crash and the kids and I were on our own. We had to move out of
Missouri Lottery. With 56 million winning tickets last year, anyone can win big. So set your destination to winning, like gas stations, grocery stores, or anywhere you can buy a ticket. The Missouri Lottery. Winners welcome and play responsibly.
News, talk, cars. 104.1 FM KMOX.
It's Great Bar Sports Open Line right here on KMOX. Off night for the Cardinals. That means we've got a full 2-hour program. And that means, generally speaking, Daniel Guerrero would have a little bit of time to himself. But nope, we have asked him to hop on this program. He covers the Cardinals for the Post-Dispatch and STL Today. Also did some pinch hitting duty covering City SC here recently, as Tom Timmerman has been doing some work covering the Blues. We welcome Daniel Guerrero onto the program. Thanks so much for taking some time with us today. How are you?
I'm doing good, Matt. Thank you for the invite. Always happy to join in.
Did you enjoy, and I don't know if you're still going to be doing any of it, but did you enjoy dabbling in City SC coverage?
You know, I did. You know, it was definitely an interest, like a different pace. I feel like just from a reporter standpoint of covering the game, you know, baseball has that flow where you have the end of the innings and in between innings. Here it's like, okay, here's this close play that was a good save by the goalkeeper. And now the play goes on. You can have to do stuff on the fly. But yeah, it was a good experience. Interesting to see Energizer Park and City SC supporters and sort of from that point of view and that perspective. So yeah, definitely a fun night.
It is fun when, and sometimes it's eye-opening when you cover something. I broadcast a couple college baseball games a few weeks ago, and I was on a Zoom call with one of the college baseball coaches, and I asked him a question just in a private Zoom call that I would have no problem asking Oliver Marmol or any major league manager, and he took offense to it. And it's just in that moment, I realized that, okay, sometimes the flow of covering different sports and different levels, it's a little bit different, but it can be fun all at the same time.
Yeah. And just real quickly, it was funny because filling in for Tom Timmerman, who, covered soccer for years. I mean, before even City SC became, an MLS team. I remember during the post game, they're like, "Oh yeah, you'll get first question because Tom usually gets it, and you're filling in for him." I'm like, okay. I was just kind of like you said, if this was Cardinals and I got the first question or whatever, you're all these people that are covered in game all the time, and here I'm filling in and leading off the post game scrum. So it was definitely a fun experience and welcoming experience too.
Awesome, very good. All right, let's talk a little bit of baseball. It is not a good road trip for the Cardinals. They only win one game. They blow a number of leads. The bullpen is not in a good spot right now. What's your general takeaway on how do they fix this? How just starting with the bullpen, how do they start finding efficiency from guys not named Kyle Leahy, Phil Maton, and Ryan Helsley?
Yeah, it's an interesting question just because, like you mentioned, I mean, there are some guys who have definitely pitched well, like Kyle Leahy's definitely one of them, and the guys who have struggled. I mean, you had strong seasons last year. I mean, Ryan Fernandez is a rookie, Rule 5 draft pick. I mean, had a strong year. Jojo Romero had a strong first half, and some of that workload seemed like it kind of got to him in that second half. But overall, a really strong season from him. And I think kind of a big part of it, especially when we're looking at this year as it being that transition year for this club and kind of to see what we got and give runway to a lot of young guys. I think a big part of it is kind of having guys figure it out at the major league level, which, I mean, there are a lot of layers to that, right? Because, obviously the developing at the highest level of baseball is a really difficult thing to do. But I mean, it definitely seems like with some of the guys who are struggling, them being a part of this core that they're looking towards being part of the future. I think a part of it is also just kind of having guys work through some things and putting them in spots where they can grow and develop from. And if that means, some rough outings, but I mean, that's one thing, but yeah, I think a big part of it is having guys kind of find that feel and kind of come into their own at this level.
There's a certain line that even when you're trying to let guys develop at the big league level and just work through things at the big league level, there's a line that you don't want to cross with guys where it makes sense to get the pressure off of them. Have we hit that point, do you think, with Ryan Fernandez?
I still think Ryan Fernandez is going to be pitching at the major league level. I mean, right here in the kind of short term, but and obviously long term. I mean, we saw what he did as a rookie, but yeah, I mean, I think this is a point where, and I think the Cardinals were looking to get him into lower leverage spots during this last road trip. Similar, I mean, and that kind of sounded really, really similar to the way they brought him into the majors last year, right? Where he was pitching at low leverage spots and kind of was, more not so much so as like getting, feel for stuff, but more so like getting a feel for the game and the flow of the major leagues itself. And I think, seemed like, on the outside was kind of a clear process for him with what he's working through right now. But I mean, when you look at the margins of these last few games and the way kind of the road trip flowed for the Cardinals, I mean, it's kind of a difficult spot for them to do that. And, the game finds you. And for Ryan Fernandez, it's found him in some tough spots where he's had some rough outings. But I think the approach that they took to kind of get him into low leverage stuff, I mean, is one way to do it. But I mean, when the games are as close as they've been, I mean, it's kind of difficult to balance those two things, as you said. The development aspect and the winning aspect.
A lot was made of Ali's comments about, look, there's not a whole lot, below them that can come in and help. The guys that are there have to pitch better. Do you think there was any type of message being sent there, whether it was to player? Like, what did you take away from Ali's comments, or just take it at complete kind of surface level?
I kind of took it as especially just kind of looking at the depth that they have on the 40-man, just the minor league level. I think a big part of that is some of the guys who are nearing the majors or have already appeared in the majors and are on the 40-man are on starter tracks. And I think that's a big kind of piece to looking at the pitching side of it. I mean, we saw, Michael McGreevy really pitch well in spring training and pitched well in the majors last year. And, maybe you look at him as an option, but I mean, Cardinals have been clear on him being a starter. And obviously he's stayed a starter in Memphis, and there's no reason to bring him into a relief role if you're looking for a short-term solution in the bullpen. But even some of the other guys like Gordon Graceffo, is kind of stuck to that starter feel. I think even deeper on the 40-man, you have a couple of guys like, Takao Roby and Tim Kentz, who opened the year having not pitched above Double-A, and obviously they weren't going to be rushed to the majors. But I think when I heard those comments, and that's the way I kind of took it. Where when you look at the depth and you look at kind of where the pitching pipeline is, you have guys who you want to stay starters, and you also have guys who are a little bit further away, who, even though they're on the starter track, like, you're not going to rush to get him. Obviously, Roby's fit, obviously Tim Kentz has been sidelined, but in kind of this overall picture, I mean, those are guys who, even if both were healthy, you would want to give them time.
To the injury side of things, guys that we thought maybe could get to the big leagues at some point this year, and they still can, but the fact that Quinn Matthews has been slowed down by injury, Tim Kentz has been slowed down by injury. A lot of their top pitching prospects throughout the organization have been slowed down by injury and might be on the injured list right now. That's just kind of another component to all this, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd say so. And I mean, and when you look at the injuries, I think a lot of it's case by case. I don't think there's anything overarching with kind of what's happening and some of the things that have sidelined guys. But yeah, I mean, when you have some of the guys who are nearing the majors, like you mentioned, Quinn Matthews. I mean, Cooper Jerpy's another one who the Cardinals was when they drafted him, was the guy that they kind of. It looked like, he could be kind of on a fast track to the majors, given his background pitching for Oregon State and just kind of that funky swing and miss that he brings, but just, has been hurt by injuries. But I mean, I think that's another aspect, like you mentioned, another layer to it where, you when you look at that depth, and even if you look at, okay, bringing in a guy to start, I mean, a guy who's a starter, bringing him into the bullpen for the time being to kind of give you a solution there in the short term. I mean, the injuries have kind of hurt that depth. And yeah, that's one of those things where, when injuries kind of hurt you, the depth takes a big toll as well.
Have you been at all surprised by the lack of willingness to use Matt Swanson, where they run a Ryan Fernandez out there again? They pitch Phil Maton 13 of the first 23 games, and they're being very, very careful and very, very selective on where they use Swanson.
Yeah, and a little bit, especially because he came up at a time where the Cardinals were needing innings, right? I mean, I remember he called up. I think it was a getaway Wednesday here against Houston, where Steven Matz was going to make his first start, and obviously he had been still building up as a building up his workload because he's been in the pen, and even though he's pitching long relief, you really weren't sure how many pitches you could really get out of him without obviously pushing anything because of injury, right? You don't want to push guys that hard, especially this early in the season. And yeah, so I mean, when you look at kind of where they're at, I think, I think like on the surface, it's like, okay, like why aren't they, using Swanson? They brought him up and he's, pitched well. But I think at the same time, I think there's also that aspect of bringing in a guy who, it only has one big league inning under him, and that was, a couple weeks ago at this point. But yeah, so I think it's one of those where you want to see him, but at the same time, it's like there's still a little bit of unknown because, he's so fresh to the big league level that, the high leverage spot. It's a lot to take in for a guy that young, and I mean, I think it's another one of those things where you balance development and winning that night. But I mean, to see him only pitch one inning so far, it's been one of those things where like I would have imagined we would have seen him in another spot or two.
Daniel Guerrero, he covers the Cardinals for the Post-Dispatch and STL Today, occasionally pinch hits covering City SC as well. You follow him on Twitter at the Dan Guerrero. Daniel, thanks so much for the time. We'll see you at the ballpark this weekend.
Yeah, thank you, Matt. See you there.
Awesome. Very good. Daniel Guerrero joining us on the program, and we appreciate him taking a few moments with us. We are going to, later on in the program, we'll give you a chance to chime in, kind of like we did yesterday with everything going on. We'll open up phone lines and text messages and tweets and all that sort of stuff, probably around the 7 o'clock news before and after it. So that is going to be coming up, your chance to talk Cardinals baseball with us. We still have a lot of Blues talk to get into before all is said and done. But up next, we will talk City SC soccer, as they didn't lose this past weekend, and that was a step forward for them as they look to try to get things going. We've got a lot to discuss, and we'll talk City SC soccer in just a moment right here on KMOX.
There's something new taking shape in downtown St. Louis, an experience unlike anything else in sports. From the hustle on the pitch to all the flags and smoke and 22,000 fans chanting STL in unison throughout Energizer Park. This is more than just a game. This is St. Louis City Soccer. Learn more at stlcitysc.com/tickets and experience it now.
Farming's hard. To feed the world, farmers have to work the land, brave the elements, and fight the battle against weeds. Weeds reduce crop yields, so prices go up and everybody gets less to eat. But 50 years ago, farmers got a new tool to fight weeds, glyphosate. It kills weeds while protecting the harvest. Time and again, it has been approved by the EPA and by leading
Tuesday at noon. Sponsored by Seidman Cancer Center on the voice of the Cardinals. 104.1 FM, KMOX.
Back at on a Gray Bar Sports Open Line right here on KMOX. No Cardinals baseball tonight, so we've got the full 2-hour program. Cardinals back at tomorrow when they open up a weekend series against the Milwaukee Brewers. Coming up this weekend also, City SC, they are going to be in action, coming off a matchup last week, a scoreless tie against Vancouver, so they get a point out of it, which you don't play for a scoreless tie, but based off the way things have been going, that's better than the results previously. This weekend, they've got Sunday Night Soccer as they're going to match up against LAFC on the road. We're very happy to be able to go back to our guest line right now and welcome in somebody that we like to talk to. He's going to be on the call coming up this weekend. He is Jake Zivin. You follow him on Twitter at Jake, Zivin. Jake, always appreciate you taking some time with us. How are you?
Matt, I'm doing great. Great to chat. Always enjoy joining y'all in St. Louis.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, it's nobody's like running a victory lap because they got a point and, because they still didn't score a goal. But clearly and obviously, based off the way things have been going, that was a better effort this past weekend against Vancouver.
Yeah, look, you're snapping a 4-game losing streak. That's positive. I still think that there's big questions about the St. Louis attack, right? It's 1 goal scored in the last 5 games. I don't think there's a ton of questions about their defense, even though they had conceded 2 and 2 straight. I think it's a really solid defensive team. Roman Burki will come back. He's the best goalkeeper in the league. But the question of can this team score goals remains, because ultimately, yeah, you can concede just 1 goal a game, which would be great. But if you can't score, you're going to lose every game 1-0. And St. Louis is still kind of looking like a team that might lose a lot of games 1-0 this season.
Yeah, they are. And yeah, I've talked to somebody that you work with a lot, and Taylor Twellman a couple weeks ago. And I mean, he did not mince words, as he is not one to do so. But
Right.
he shares those exact same thoughts, that this is a team that is really struggling to find a way to score goals, and the personnel that they have maybe not be the right personnel grouping to be able to do that. And all at the same time, you've got a new head coach that's trying to really get his system in place. I mean, there's just a lot going on here.
Yeah, there is. And look, I Taylor and I talk a lot about, St. Louis, right? And not just St. Louis City, but what soccer means in the city of St. Louis. Taylor knows that as well as anybody, being raised in the city and growing up playing in that incredible soccer football culture of St. Louis, Missouri. And so he's imparted on me, particularly this year, how demanding the fan base is going to be, how demanding the supporters will be, and how knowledgeable the fan base is. And so while some other cities, you might be able to get away with maybe taking a little more time to figure things out. I've talked to Taylor about it a lot. He doesn't think that St. Louis can, right? Or at least maybe they're going to have, the fan base will be more critical. And so, yeah, it's interesting. It is still early, to your point. It's 9 games into a new coach. And that stuff takes time. In world football, new managers don't always get that time, but in American sports, they typically do. So, again, seems to me like the defensive base is there, is strong, is settled, and will continue throughout the year in that way. Now can they take that step of being more dangerous in the attack?
They had an owner that guaranteed that they would be a playoff club before the season got started this year. So, I mean, some of yes, St. Louis fans can be demanding, but some of the expectations come from the organization themselves.
For sure. And look, I think in that city, you probably have to be that way, right? As an owner, as an organization, as a club. And the fact is this, they're only 3 points out of a playoff spot right now. This is a forgiving league, and 9 teams of the 15 in the Western Conference will make the postseason. So it's not like they're far away from that. And that's why I say, if they can figure it out in the attack, if they can take that step, then like this team could be one that is kind of in the contending area of the Western Conference. But that's a little bit of a big if, and it's still certainly a big question, because while maybe we've seen those glimpses at times, and I look not even really to last week, but 2 weeks ago, we did the game on Sunday Night Soccer. The last 25, 30 minutes of that game, St. Louis kind of opened up. They looked really dangerous. They couldn't find that equalizing goal, but they looked like that they could. And they look, I think, the best that they have all year. outside of the game in LA in the attack. So if they can kind of channel that, then yeah, for sure, right? I mean, it's easily, I think, a playoff team, but it's a big but, right? They have to show us that they can do that.
Lutz Pfannenstiel likes to use the second transfer window later on in the season, but he did make a move in this transfer window as Shande Silva comes over from Atlanta United for an exchange of general allocation money. A guy who they feel like can add to their firepower in terms of scoring goals, but also a guy who hasn't scored a ton of goals himself.
Yeah, right. And look, we talk about the playoffs. He's been great in the playoffs for Atlanta United. He scored 3 goals in the playoffs for them in 7 games, and just 4 in the regular season. He showed a lot of promise when he joined Atlanta. It was also a summer signing in 2023, and it kind of looked like he was going to just kick on in 2024, and it didn't really work out. There were some injuries. I think other players were preferred. They went on a late run in that season with an interim manager, with him mostly on the bench. But he scored their goal of the season last year in Game 2 against Miami at home in that round 1 upset. He came off the bench as a sub. He scored a stoppage time winner that sent the series back to Miami for Game 3, a game that they won, and kind of the upset of 30 years of Major League Soccer, the biggest upset in the history of the league. So he's been a big moment player. He's been a playoff player for Atlanta. Can now he do that on a weekly basis? I think that was the question in Atlanta. It's going to be the question in St. Louis. But he is, I think, a very different player than St. Louis has. He is a direct winger, can be a dangerous attacker. They don't have anybody like him on their team. I'm interested to see how he fits into the system that Olaf Melberg has been using. We're going to talk to Olaf tomorrow for our broadcast meeting, and I'm really curious to find out how he envisions Jean de Silva fitting in. But he is a different piece, and it's, I think, could be really positive in the attack because he gives them something maybe a little bit like Celio Pompeu that can provide that moment that's unexpected, can do that just extra special thing that you need in this game. You need those moments from players.
They made another move in that they exercised the purchase option on Simon Betcher, and then they signed him to a contract extension. Yeah. They've moved on from some players, obviously, who were a big part of the start of this team. They brought in a bunch of guys at the transfer window. Do you get the sense that kind of the core of this team for the years moving forward is starting to come together, or is this still a team that really needs to add on beyond what they've done?
Hey, look, if you asked me that question literally 2 months ago, I would have said, of course, the core is here. Hartl, Hoyshert, Betcher, when those guys came in, Betcher was on loan, but the way that he played at the end of last year, it seemed like no doubt that this would happen, right? They would pick up his purchase option. But the way that the team played the last 10 games of last year, after the transfer window opened, it looked like this is something to build on. And this is St. Louis. It's going to be a new era. It's going to be different than the way they started in 2023, but it's going to be successful. It looked like it. So the answer would have been no doubt. But now, right, 9 games into this season where they've scored just 5 goals, second fewest in the league, maybe there's some questions there, particularly, again, I'm a broken record, but it's the story for St. Louis in 2025, the attack, right? And where does it go from here? So I don't know the answer to that question, right? Because to me, there's a lot more unknown there than there was 2 months ago.
What strikes you about this matchup coming up against an LAFC team that it feels like when they're at their best, they can be really good?
Yeah, they are, no doubt, right? And that's kind of always the case with LAFC. They have stars, they spend money, they have firepower, and when they are rolling, they are as difficult as any team in the league to play against. They kind of broke out last week in Portland, 3-3 draw. The 3 given up, they won't like that, but the 3 goals, they will. They kind of finally looked like themselves. St. Louis will be much more difficult to play against than the Portland Timbers. And so it'll be much more difficult for LAFC to hit 3 goals against the St. Louis City team. It's only allowed 6 all year than it was against Portland. But their best player is Denis Bouanga. St. Louis City fans should know that name well. He scored 3 goals against St. Louis City last year, both wins for LAFC, 1-0 and 2-0. St. Louis have actually never scored against LAFC in 4 games. So the history doesn't look great. And the way LAFC is playing, it doesn't look great. But this is, I think, also by far the best defensive St. Louis team that LAFC have played. So it's kind of this this irresistible force in LAFC and their high-powered attack against an immovable object in St. Louis City and their defense. If St. Louis City can get a clean sheet, right? I mean, this is a game where I think a 0-0 draw for St. Louis would be a really good result going to LA versus a home game, a 0-0 draw, even against the Vancouver team that's in first place, maybe less than a desired result a week ago.
I'm going to ask you a question that you might not be able to answer, and that's fine. Just tell me if you can't, but I'm going to ask it nonetheless. In the NFL, if you put the Cowboys or the Steelers or somebody on Sunday Night Football, it doesn't matter what their record is, they're going to get a rating. In baseball, if you get the Yankees on Sunday Night Baseball, it's going to get a rating. I'm sure you guys have internal numbers about what's going on. Can you give me any information about how City ranks compared to maybe other teams, especially when it comes to Sunday Night Soccer and the kind of draw that they are in terms of viewership?
To be honest, I can't answer that question, and that's not because of an unwillingness to. It's because of a lack of knowledge.
Okay.
I don't know the answer. I have heard, right, and nothing specific, that St. Louis City are among the top viewed teams in MLS. And I think if you want to read between the lines, look, the Sunday Night Soccer schedule, the first 21 games were set before the season started. You can look at, you can go to on your Apple TV, and there's a little kind of row in the MLS season pass section of Sunday Night Soccer, and you can keep clicking to the right, and it shows you the whole schedule all the way to like September 7th. So this isn't a secret; it's out there. And St. Louis City is on Sunday Night Soccer quite a bit. I think 5 times. I want to say of the 21, I might be wrong, but it's at least 4 or 5. That shows you, I think, right? I mean, if you kind of read between the lines, that shows you what St. Louis City is from a viewership standpoint. You said it. The Dallas Cowboys, they're going to be on Sunday Night Football, Monday Night Football. Well, if ESPN gets their way, they'd be on Monday Night Football, right? They want them.
Yeah.
They're going to be on those marquee NFL games regardless of how good they are. Because, and years that they're good, they'll be on it more. Years that they're bad, they'll be on it a little less, but they're always going to be in that spotlight. I think I don't know this, but I think it's maybe fair to extrapolate that St. Louis City are get really good viewership. I've heard that, but I don't have any specific numbers. And it's something St. Louis should be proud about, and it's also not something that's surprising. It's a great soccer city that waited a long time for this opportunity to have an MLS team to support. And they have made up for that wait in spectacular fashion. I think both from just kind of a consumption of content standpoint, and obviously the game day atmosphere. This game is going to be in LA, but man, we love to come to St. Louis, and so we love to showcase that atmosphere as well, right, on Sunday Night Soccer and on MLS Season Pass. Good answer. Thank you for humoring me on that one, Jake. Tell folks about the entire package, not just Sunday Night Soccer, which is awesome and is available to more folks, but the entire package, which is awesome. Yeah, right. Look, Sunday Night Soccer, you can watch it on Apple TV Plus. So if you just have, the Apple TV Plus subscription, so you can watch Ted Lasso and Severance, etc., that allows you to watch Sunday Night Soccer and several games every match day as well. MLS Season Pass, that gives you everything. All 15 games a weekend, every match, no matter where you are in 107, whatever it is now, countries across the world, any device, no blackouts. Really easy and convenient way to watch the games. So, I know a lot of the St. Louis City supporters that are watching every week. They know that, and they know, that it's really easy just to find City whenever you want, because it's in the same place. And for those that maybe aren't ready to watch every single game, right? But again, if you have that Apple TV Plus subscription for your Ted Lasso, for your Severance, tune in 6:00 Central Time. Coverage is going to start at 5:00 Central this weekend in LA, and tune in whenever St. Louis City is on Apple TV Plus, in addition to MLS Season Pass. Jake, great stuff. Have a great call this weekend. I know you always do, and I'm sure we'll catch up again down the line. Of course, always love chatting. Have a good one. Sounds good. Thanks, Jake. That's Jake Seven from MLS Season Pass here. It's a Sports Open Line on KMOX. I want to tell you a little bit about i3 Broad. We were just talking about streaming these City SC games. You want to make sure that you have internet in your home that is trustworthy and is fast. That's like those are the only things that matter. Does it stay connected, and are you able to access everything you need to access in a quick amount of time? And you probably don't want to spend an arm and a leg at the same time. Well, that is i3 Broadband. I love i3 Broadband. I switched from the cable company to i3 because I was just frustrated with the cable company, and I started researching on my own what a better option is, and it was clearly the better option was i3 Broadband.
And since I made the switch over a year ago, before I even start talking about it on the radio, I have been nothing but happy with what I get from them. They mirror their upload and download speed. That's a big deal. It makes things move faster. So like one company's 1 gig internet and might not be equal to another company's 1 gig internet because the upload and download speed aren't mirrored. At i3, they always mirrored. They're adding more neighborhoods all the time. They are a growing company, a growing provider. Put your address in at i3broadband.com. That's i3broadband.com. Get that address in, see if they're available in your area. If they are available in your neighborhood, just go ahead and sign up. You're going to love them.
Hey, this is Charlie Brennan. Have you noticed loose bricks or missing mortar around your house?
cellular.com and start saving today. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. Taxes, fees, and other third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
Welcome back to the Gray Bar Sports Open Line. Once again, Matt Pauley on KMOX.
Only have about a minute left here in hour number 1 of the program. A lot of stuff coming up, though, in hour number 2, a strike zone hour here on KMOX. We're going to talk with Battlehawks cornerback Chris Payton-Jones. He's a really interesting guy. In addition to being a professional football player, he's a content creator and does a lot online with that, and has done kind of almost some documentary style, almost long form type things when it comes to his time with the Battlehawks. That's one of the cool things about a league like the UFL, where if you're doing that in the NFL, you can't have cameras around during a day in the life, right? But you can do that in the UFL, and it's really cool. So looking forward to talking to him and seeing talking football with him, but also kind of figuring out what led him down the path that he's on. Also, after the 7:00 news, we're going to open up the phone lines, the text messages, the Twitter machine, all of it. Those of you watching, you'll be able to comment. I always try to, if I can, have a segment kind of open for you where we can talk through all things Cardinals baseball. So if you have thoughts on what's going on right now, we will welcome those thoughts in question form or in comment form. That's going to be coming up after the 7:00 news. We are coming your way on a Thursday night. One more hour to go. This is a Gray Bar Sports Open Line. Back with you after the 7:00 news here on KMOX.
Join the St. Louis Symphony Orchestra for Dvorak's Cello Concerto, Radiant Warmth. Conductor
More showers and a few storms tomorrow, but Dave Murray says not severe, not all day. High temperature 78 degrees. Those showers fade in the evening for Friday night with a low 55. Sunny and a nice day for Saturday with a high of 69, and chilly for Saturday night with a low 49. Right now, clouds and 75 downtown at the Arch. I'm Michael Calhoun, KMOX News.
Welcome to the Strike Zone, presented by Gray Bar. Gray Bar, your distributor for electrical and datacom needs, on the voice of the Cardinals, 104.1 FM KMOX.
We are back into it. I like combined two different sentences there and tried to roll them together. Back into it. It is a Gray Bar Sports Open Line. It is a Strike Zone hour of a Gray Bar Sports Open Line. Lots of baseball talk here on KMOX. As always, if you want to join us, and this is the time to do it. If you've got thoughts on the Cardinals that you want to share, if you've got questions, now is the time to send them in, call them in, text them in, whatever it might be. If you want to call or text, the phone number is 314-436-7900. 314-436-7900. That's how you call or text. If you want to tweet at me, you find me on Twitter at Matt Pauley on air, MattPauley on air, or you can send a message in via the live video stream. If you're watching on any of our social media channels, you just go ahead and leave a comment right there, and it comes right into our little digital studio, and we can talk Cardinals baseball with you. So how are you feeling? Where are you at off this road trip? What a roller coaster season it has been, and it's barely the season has barely even started, right? Like that's where I struggle. That's where I struggle a lot. I never have a hard time telling you guys when I'm struggling with something. I struggle evaluating this team because they have played 25 games and it's April 24th, and we have seen some really, really good things from this team. We saw them sweep Minnesota. We saw them take 2 of 3 against Philadelphia, following that up by taking 2 of 3 against Houston. We have seen them be one of the better offensive clubs in baseball during points of the season. We've also seen the really, really bad, right? That series on the road against Boston was terrible. The way they gave up better than 13 runs twice, and then the other loss in there should have been a win. That was the game that Helsley just couldn't throw strikes and ended up giving it up. Losing a series to a really bad Pittsburgh team, not good. Going on a 7-game road trip and losing 6 of the 7 games, and a bunch of those games being games you could have won, or at least a bunch of those games being games that you had a lead in. Like, that's the worst of it. So I try to be fair. I always try to be fair in the way that I evaluate a team. And I think if we're being fair right now, we've seen some really good and some really not so good. And that's probably true as well for, like, I could go look up any other team in baseball and kind of say the same thing. Like, we can create the same story for most teams in baseball. The New York Yankees are 15-10. They're off to a nice start. They had a really, really good start to the season when they swept through the Brewers and scored 9 million runs. They lose 2 of 3 to a good Tigers team, but then they end up just losing 2 of 3 to Cleveland. Like, the point, I'm not trying to like break down the Yankees season. You're not interested in that unless you happen to be a big Yankees fan. The point I'm trying to make is sometimes we get really stuck in watching our team and we don't take that step back and realize what's happening is happening with a lot of teams. So what's going on with the Cardinals is not unique to the Cardinals. But what's annoying is just that they have, you know what I'm sick of saying? Because I've said it for the last 2 years. I'm sick of saying this team's identity is still coming around. I still don't totally know who this team is. That's always true about a baseball team, probably through the first 30 to 60 games. You know, once you're starting, there is, Mike Claiborne's Flag Day, and I'm not trying to be dismissive of that, but even a little bit before Flag Day, you start to have an idea of who a team was. Well, I haven't had that idea. I never, last year's team, maybe they just didn't have an identity. They were a winning team that were in playoff position for a lot of the season, but then faded down the stretch, and you saw good, you saw bad, you saw an offense that could never come together. And I never felt like I had a full grasp on who they were. And this year's team, in many ways, I feel the same way. And I'll say this, when comparing last year to this year, I to me, it's an inarguable point. And I'm sure there's people out there who would argue it with me. This year's team is more entertaining than last year's team. It just is. There are more interesting pieces on this year's team doing interesting things. And that's good, right? I understand Cardinals fans not showing up to Busch Stadium because they're unhappy with the fact that this team has not been to the postseason in a couple years, and it goes beyond that. There's some other things that have happened, that there is some unrest, and I feel like it's almost a kind of a mob mentality where some people have not. It's just, look, I think mob mentality is the best way to describe it, where there's this narrative that's out there about how bad the Cardinals are, and a lot of people have jumped on it. And to me, I think that narrative has been overblown a little bit. Last year, not good. They were a winning team, yes, but they didn't make the playoffs, and the stated goal was to make the playoffs. The year before that, it was absolutely terrible. That was a really, really bad baseball team. That was one of the worst teams in the storied history of the St. Louis Cardinals. The year before, they were a pretty good team, and they happened to they ran into a Phillies team that was tough, and I would have loved to have seen them win that series, win game one of that series, and to see what could have potentially happened from there, as maybe things look different even today if they would have won that series and gone on a little bit of a run. But again, you can't go back in time. So that's where the team is at, and I think this is an important weekend. You're at home where you've been good. You're matched up against a divisional opponent that's ahead of you in the standings, a team that a lot of people think could win the division. The Brewers have done that a lot, and we'll see what ends up happening. Speaking of that, What's on Deck, sponsored by Chesterfield Fence and Deck. The sign you have, the very best, ChesterfieldFence.com. Cardinals, Brewers, a 3-game series that is going to begin tomorrow evening. Of course, all 3 games going to be right here on KMOX. Cardinals, they are going to be sending Matthew Liberatore to the mound coming up tomorrow. And for the Brewers, it looks like they have announced their rotation for the series. Chad Patrick is expected to start the opener. Let's go to the phones. Rob has given us a call. Hey, Rob, you're on Sports Open Line.
Good evening, guys. How are you?
Doing all right.
So I guess the situation, and maybe this has been talked about on previous calls and I just missed it, but the relationship with Mozeliak and Chaim Bloom, I've been in the business for 40 years, and I've never seen a takeover or a job change of somebody that's been there forever, have him stay around and have the new guy work by his side. I've never seen that really work out. Do you think that there's any of that issue that's causing the issues with the Cardinals right now?
No, and Rob, I think what you're missing in that question is Chaim Bloom is doing a different job. If Chaim Bloom was in St. Louis every day and had an office next to John Mozeliak's and they were making decisions about the Major League roster together, then I think what you just said would be a narrative worth going down. But Chaim Bloom's job is all about the minor leagues and about player development and putting in the infrastructure that needs to go there. And yeah, I'm not saying that he doesn't have any input whatsoever on what's going on with the big league team, but he's not in St. Louis all the time. He makes a few I saw him at the ballpark during the first homestand. I didn't see him at the ballpark in this most recent homestand. He's not here. So no, Rob, it's an interesting question, but I don't think that leads to anything negative that's going on right now.
Thank you for that clarification. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you bet. Appreciate the phone call. 314-436-7900. 314-436-7900 is how you give us a call. From the 618, a text message says, as a lifelong Cardinals fan, I've never seen a year where going to the playoffs wasn't the goal, and now results are being set aside, minor league investment aside, player development at the major league level aside, transition year aside. Cardinal baseball has always been about trying to get to the World Series. It's frustrating and makes me feel like a Rockies fan. Okay, first off, anybody who says, oh, it's like being a Rockies fan, it's like being a White Sox fan, it's like being a Pirates fan. No, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not. Those fan bases, see, there's no commitment to anything in those in those organizations. Nothing. Zero commitment to anything. Those owners cash their checks and do the worst job possible of putting a major league team on the field. And don't worry about the minor leagues. Don't worry about scouting. I mean, during COVID, the Rockies had their analysts, their data people, go down to the clubhouse and do freaking laundry. You got Ivy League educated people that are thought so lowly of that they have to do that during COVID. I'm not trying to be dismissive of people who do that job. It's a real being in the clubhouse and doing those sort of things is an incredibly important thing. But that's not what they were hired to do. And the Rockies said, we're going to fire all the people who were hired to do that, and we're going to make these Ivy League educated people go down and do laundry. So the comparisons are not equal. The Cardinals want to win World Series. They're not going to win a World Series this year. They want to win a World Series. To win a World Series, they have to fix what's going on in player development. They have to start producing more high-end players. So they're trying to and this is not a one-year thing. This is going to be a multi-year fix. It's going to take a little bit of time. It's much needed. When you look at when the Cardinals have been teams that have gone on deep playoff runs, they've done it largely because of the high-end talent that they've produced out of their minor league system. They're not doing that right now. They have to get back to that point, and that's part of what's going on. We can have arguments all we want about what's taking place at the major league level, but there is a legitimate investment going on that is about winning the World Series. It's not about winning the World Series in 2025, but guess what? If you worry about winning the World Series in 2025, you're not going to. They worried about making the playoffs last year. They didn't do it. If you worry about winning the World Series in 2025, you're not going to do it because you don't have the pieces there to be able to do it. And then you're never going to get there because you're not going to be able to focus on the stuff that eventually gets you there. All right, we're going to switch gears coming up in just a moment. Don't go anywhere. This is a Gray Bar Sports Open Line on KMOX.
Celebrating their 57th year in business, Chesterfield Fence and Deck has been one of St. Louis's top names in home improvement with a commitment to put quality and professionalism first in everything that they do. They are like a Hall of Famer, an MVP. They are incredible, and they are locally owned and operated. The sign you have the very best is
Pauley continuing to take you through the evening for another 40 minutes or so till 8 o'clock this evening. Cardinals baseball tomorrow. They open up a home series against the Milwaukee Brewers, and we'll have it for you right here on KMOX. The Battlehawks, they are back at it this weekend as well. They are going to match up against the Michigan Panthers. That's going to be a 6 o'clock kickoff coming up on Saturday night over at the Dome. So some Saturday night football for the Battlehawks. And with that, we're very happy to welcome on to the program. He is a cornerback with the team. He is Chris Payton-Jones. You follow him on Twitter, and you'll definitely want to do that at C. Payton-Jones. Chris, thanks so much for taking some time with us today. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm blessed. Can't complain. How you guys doing?
Doing all right. Great to be able to talk to you a little bit here. What's the feeling around the team? A couple losses here over the last couple weeks. Obviously, a lot that can still be accomplished this year, but I know you guys are wanting to clean up a few things from the last two games.
The main thing is, just definitely in the fourth quarter, just find a way. I think that's been our main thing these past 2 weeks. Coaches, still instilling in us is, just the past two games, teams have found a way. In the fourth quarter, we just have to find a way as a team. And we're really excited to get back on the field this weekend and just, go out there and put our best foot forward and, get through and find a way to get these dubs.
When things maybe are not going your way and you look to fight out of it, how much can that bring a team together?
It brings a team together in multiple ways. Us as a team, we talk to each group and the guys. We all just have to at the end of the day just play for each other out there. The coaches give us the tools to go out there and play the best that we can. But at the end of the day, the coaches are not on the field. It's us. We have to look to our left and to our right and know that we're playing for each other and just go out there and just be great.
You've got a night game coming up on Saturday, so it gives fans an opportunity to maybe tailgate a little bit outside before making their way into the Dome. You've played football for a long time. Do you have a preference on start time? Do you like the afternoon games, the night games? Do you have a preference on when the games are?
Me personally, I'm not a night game person. I just feel like my anticipation to get there and just be ready to play. I honestly, I don't like sitting around. Mm-hmm. But I mean, it makes it, just to amp up for the game. You just sit there for so long. I'd rather early games. That's just me personally.
What do you do on a day like that on Saturday where you're going to have to wait a really long time for that thing to kick off? How do you go about that day to try to, keep your mind where you want it to be?
I mainly just, we have meetings and walkthroughs throughout the day, but then after that we have like downtime of like 3 hours. Most times I just go back, watch film, talk to family. I just like to, just clear my mind and just be comfortable. At the end of the day, I don't like to be amped up. Listen to music. I watch film, or I watch some highlight tapes of Jalen Ramsey or Pat Surtain. Just do a little bit of stuff like that, just to, get my mind focused and get ready for the game.
How much better can you be? I talk to baseball players about this all the time. How much better can you be by looking at film of the guys that you think do it at the highest level and trying to replicate some of the things that they do well?
For me, basically, I mean, I know watching like Jalen Ramsey, you just watch like his aggressiveness to the ball, just the way he plays. And, it's just, there's been a couple times where I've seen him make certain plays and I get those certain type of moments in the game and I, revert back and be like, okay, he was this physical during this play. He jumped this route. He made that play. And, if those guys can do the same thing, I can make that play as well.
You're a lot more than a football player. You are a content creator. People can head to your social media, including your Twitter, which is at C. Payton-Jones. You put together a long form day in the life video of a Battlehawk player focused on you. Where did this passion come from? Because I mean, I watched it. It's awesome. It's high quality video. I mean, this is not just somebody running around with a cell phone making videos. You obviously have a passion for this and are very good at it. Where did that come from, and what led you down that path?
I had a friend who told me about getting a camera, and I was like, man, we got our phones. Like, I don't need no camera. And then I ended up buying a camera, the same camera he got. And then I remember taking photos at a spring football game and kind of set the camera down, came up here, played in the XFL, and I came back home and I actually picked it up for real, and it just took off from there. I just started creating a passion for it, taking photos, and then videos were really my thing. I just like telling stories and, different things like that. And then I got into the cinematic where I wanted everything to look like a movie. So my passion continues to grow the more I do it.
Is there, we just talked about who you look up to a little bit in the football world. Is there somebody from a video side of things that you really look at the way they do things and try to mimic that at all?
No, not really. I see a whole bunch of people's stuff on social media. It's not like one person who I actually just like, I just like this guy's stuff. Like it's a cumulative of a lot of people. A lot of people do a lot of great work out here. And it's motivating because I'm just like, man, I want my stuff to look just like that. Hopefully one day, I'm able to record, produce, and direct, my own movie one day. So that's something that I look forward to.
We're talking with Battlehawk Chris Payton-Jones, and it's not just football stuff either. You've done you did a boxing documentary. I know you've done some college football stuff covering the Sugar Bowl. So I mean, you've gotten some opportunities here beyond just your day in the life with Battlehawks and all that. I mean, it's got to be a pretty cool opportunity for somebody who's still an active professional football player to be able to do all these other things.
It's definitely fun. I love it. Especially I know the high school guys when I'm back home, they love it. Because I'm able to highlight some of those guys back home. And then, I branched off and, I knew somebody who was able to get me into, some college games. I was able to go out and film one of my friends, her wedding. I just dibble and dab into everything. I just like, just being able to just, film and tell people stories and, put it all and they can go back and watch it. And it's high quality at the end of the day. It's not something that, they're going to put in and be like, they can barely see it. Like, I want something to be super nice. They can share it with everybody and everybody looks at it and they're going to be like, hey, I want Chris to shoot my wedding. Or I want Chris to shoot this for me.
So do your teammates like having the cameras around?
Definitely. Teammates love having the camera around. They always ask me when we do this game we call shadow boxing. They're like, you didn't record it? I'm like, hey, man, I ain't record this one. I got the next one, though. They loved it.
That's great stuff. He is Chris Payton-Jones again. Battlehawks in action coming up this Saturday night. That's going to be a 6:00 start over at the Dome. And Chris, I know you guys are always hoping that St. Louis fans show up in a really, really big way, fill up that Dome, and make it very, very loud.
Yes, sir. I can't wait. I'm excited.
Chris, thanks so much for the time. Good to get to know you a little bit.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Awesome. Very good. That is Chris Payton-Jones. Again, Battlehawks back at it coming up this weekend. All the details at the UFL.com. That's the UFL.com. You can get tickets. And if you want to follow along with Chris, you can do so again at C Payton-Jones. Really good. Like I wasn't just trying to pump him up because he was on the show. Like I didn't know what to expect when I was first kind of given the word that he was somebody who did do the content creation and everything. I didn't really know what to expect out of it. And then I went and saw it. I was like, this is legit. This is really good looking. So good on him for being able to do that. And there's something not to make this about me because it's not, but early on in my minor league baseball career, we had and for one of the teams that I was the broadcaster for, we had a reality show that followed along with us. And it was fun. It was cool. But the best part about it is all these years later that I'm able to go back and watch that and have all the memories of what went on that year. Like in many ways, from a professional standpoint, I almost wish there was always cameras around so I could go back and relive and experience the fun stuff. It was a gift to me early on in my baseball broadcasting career that I'm able to go back and see some of that stuff for sure. And I got to think that for the teammates of Chris Payton-Jones, what he is doing and everything, the fact that he's able to do it at such a high level is something that they are going to appreciate as time goes by. 314-436-7900, 314-436-7900. That's how you call. That's how you text. You can tweet at me if you'd like, at Matt Pauley on air. And of course, for the folks who are watching us on the video stream, you are always more than welcome to leave a comment, and those comments come in and we can address those as well. We'll get back into the Cardinals a little bit. Also got to talk some Blues hockey. They've got a big one tonight. It's a must win for the Blues over at Enterprise Center. They're about an hour away from a puck drop. We'll talk through all of that coming up. Don't go anywhere. This is a Gray Bar Sports Open Line on KMOX.
I had the worst dream last night. You were in a car crash, and the kids and I were on our own. We had to move out of the house because I couldn't afford it anymore.
It's all
at i3 Broadband. I feel like they are my friends because they provide internet in my home, and we rely on internet for it's like if you don't have internet in your home, like there's just a bunch of stuff that doesn't work. I've got 2 kids, so we've got the cameras in the rooms and everything in case my 10-month-old daughter starts crying. We got to know about it. We got to make sure that internet's working, that it's good. That's not just going to randomly drop out in the middle of the night. Well, i3 Broadband, very few dropouts, very few service interruptions. It basically does not happen. I'm paying a little less money than I was paying with the cable company, which is great for a better product. I love i3 Broadband. If you're frustrated with your internet service, go get a really good internet service provider. It's easy to get everything installed. Head to i3broadband.com, i3broadband.com. Put your address in. If you've done that before, by the way, and your neighborhood was not available, put it in again because they're always adding more neighborhoods. They are a growing company, growing service provider. And you'll be happy once you're able to get i3 Broadband. They are the absolute best.
So, you want to buy a house. You could go online.
Gas House Gang every Tuesday at noon. Sponsored by Seidman Cancer Center on the voice of the Cardinals. 104.1 FM, KMOX.
Back at it on KMOX, it is a Gray Bar Sports Open Line. My name is Matt Pauley. Have you for about 24 more minutes, and then we will replay the Gas House Gang. I get to make an appearance on the Gas House Gang coming up tomorrow. Generally on Fridays, I do 12 to 12:30, but this week, Chris Ranji, that big old slacker, he has decided that he is not going to do the show at all tomorrow. So what that means is I'll be on tomorrow with Mike Claiborne for the entire time, which is a lot of fun because Mike Claiborne is one of my favorite people in the world and also one of my favorite people to be able to work with. John Rooney, the voice of the Cardinals, he is going to join us at about 12:30. So we'll talk through things with him and we'll see what we know. If the Cardinals make roster moves prior to the game tomorrow night or a roster move prior to the game tomorrow night, I would suspect it is not going to be published by that point, but we will we'll have to wait and see. I guess one way to look, I mean, not that it really matters, but you can process of elimination. You can go look at Memphis because I mean, my thought is that there could very easily be a different look to the bullpen tomorrow, even though yesterday they Oliver Marmol said, there's nothing really coming from below that's going to change things that much at the major league level. I think there could be something that could happen. So you look and see who pitched for Memphis today, and from a process of elimination, those would probably not be the guys who would come in. So, a forgotten man, Nick Anderson, who, when spring training got started, I thought he had a job. Even though he was not on the 40-man roster and technically signed a minor league deal, he had good big league time, and I thought he was somebody who was going to come in. He's pitched to a 3.60 ERA at Memphis, so something could change, and he could get an opportunity at some point. They would have to make a 40-man move for that to happen, but he did pitch today for Memphis, so he's probably not that guy. Another guy that would take a 40-man roster move, Andre Granillo, he pitched today as well. He's been arguably, after Matt Swanson, he has been probably the best relief pitcher for Memphis this year. Even giving up a run today, pitched to a 1.80 ERA. Rodri Munoz pitched today as well for Memphis. So if they were to make a move, if we were to start to go down that line, in all likelihood, none of those guys that I just mentioned would be. But I mean, look, the next player to come up from a relief pitching standpoint, if and when they make a move, I think it's pretty clear going to be Riley O'Brien. He's put up good numbers at Memphis this year. They've invested in him. They believe in him. He's somebody who's got some big league time. And more than anything else, you just got to figure out whether or not he can put it together at the big league level. He's been given opportunities before, and whether it's due to injury or just not very good performance, he hasn't been able to put it all together. So that's going to be that he's going to be the guy once a move is made. I'm just curious though. Like, here's what I don't know. I have no problem telling you what I don't know. Here's what I don't know. I don't know how Ryan Fernandez is handling all of this from like an emotional standpoint. And look, you don't get to the big leagues if you are overly fragile from an emotional standpoint. And I hope when I say that, I'm not putting like people down. Like, I'm not trying to denigrate emotional fragility. But you go through a lot. You go through a lot as an athlete to get to the highest level, and not 100% of the time, but certainly 99% of the time, if you do indeed have a lot of that fragility when it comes to your emotional self, it's probably going to hurt you coming up. It's just, you develop a toughness when you are an athlete. And all that being said, what's happening right now with Ryan Fernandez, I think is really tough. I think it would be tough for anybody. Ryan Fernandez is a really good guy, super dude, somebody that you can easily root for. As Cardinals fans, whether you want Fernandez to be on the big league club, and you hope that he can just work through the issues that he's got right now, and he can return to the form that he was in last year, where he pitched to a 3.51 ERA and had 71 strikeouts and 66 and 2/3 innings. If you are, whether you're somebody that wants to see him get the opportunity to work through that and work back to it at the big league level, or you're somebody that thinks it makes the most sense for him to head down to Memphis and work on some things, like, you can root for the guy and you can be glad that he's part of the organization. And I have no doubt that he's going to find it again. Man, he's got a live arm. He's lost some of his pitches, from a shape standpoint and some other things going on. He's just not delivering a number of his pitches from an effective standpoint. And he has given up 5 runs over his last 3 outings. And they've been in some big moments. They'd like to work him into low leverage situations, but if you're playing close games all the time, you don't get the opportunity to be in a low leverage spot. So I feel like for his best good, and I say that not knowing where he is at with handling things, but I would think for his best good, you'd want to see him maybe just get a little pressure taken off of him for a moment or so. Kevin Wheeler and I were talking about this earlier, and I can't remember if this part of a conversation was on air or off air. I think it was off air, so I'll repeat basically what was said. It got that way last year with Nolan Gorman. When Gorman was really struggling for those 4 or 5 weeks that he was really bad last year, really bad, it finally got to a point where him being on a big league roster just wasn't good for him anymore. That you had to get him out of here. The last thing they probably wanted to do with Gorman last year was remove him off the big league roster. At the very least, you probably wanted to have his power bat be a bat that could come off the bench, especially last year where the bench really wasn't constructed that well and there wasn't a lot of power coming off the bench. So Gorman would have been somebody that they would have absolutely liked to have been able to hold on to. But it just got to a point where, for his own good, it was best if he wasn't going to be on the big league roster anymore. And I don't think we're three scoring outings in a row for Ryan Fernandez, but prior to that, it looked like he had fixed some things. I talked to him for pregame, a week and a half ago, not even that much, and we talked about his pitch shape and the work that he had done to get everything back going, and he was coming off 3 straight outings. So maybe if it was after that 3rd outing that I talked to him, then we can just blame me. Obviously, I was the jinx by talking to him in that moment. But it felt like he had cleaned things up. So on his outing after April 6th, he had a 13.5 ERA. He then had 3 consecutive scoreless outings after that. Did give up 4 hits over those 3 outings, but did not give up a run. So it looked like he had locked back in, and he had lowered his ERA to 7.71. Again, I know that's not good, but when you take your ERA from 13.5 to 7.7, you're cutting it almost in half. Obviously, that's pretty good movement. But then since those 3 scoreless outings, he's had the 3 consecutive not so good outings where gave up a run without collecting an out, gave up 3 runs in 1 inning, and then gave up a run in 2/3 of an innings, and hasn't been striking it out a ton of guys either while all that's been going on, and that jumped his ERA back up from that 7.7 to the 11.42 that's at right now. Again, I don't know where he's at. I think you, as an organization, as a Oliver Marmol has a great relationship with his players, and I think he better than anybody probably knows if this is the time to let Fernandez try to work through things at the big league level, or if this is the time to go ahead and let him go down to Memphis and take some pressure off. I am of the belief that the Memphis thing probably makes the most sense, because I actually think that's the quicker pathway to getting right. And I know you're not facing major league hitting when you're doing that, and being able to work through things while facing major league hitting can actually be a good thing, because you're getting answers right there in front of you as you do work through things. But if the goal here is to get Ryan Fernandez back to being the guy he was last year, well, if you get him to AAA, you're not in a situation where you're waiting for low leverage opportunities to put him in, or you're stuck putting him in a high leverage opportunity that you really don't want to put him in because there's just nothing else available on the roster. And neither of those things are good. If you send him down to Memphis, he can be on a schedule. He can work on things. Bluntly, the results won't matter that much, especially early on if he's trying to fix some stuff and work through some things, all of that. So there is, to me, there is a lot of value in him going back to AAA. And he's never been a AAA guy for the Cardinals. You know, they kept him on the roster all of last season because he was a Rule 5 guy. Once they get through that one season with him on the Major League roster as a Rule 5 guy, you then get the opportunity to utilize his options. He still has minor league options left, so you can go ahead and do that now. And I'm not convinced. Like, I'm not going to be. The more I think about this, I'm not going to be just like shocked beyond belief if we walk into the ballpark tomorrow and Ryan Fernandez is there and he's still on the roster. But whether it's 51-49, 60-40, like somewhere in there, I think in all likelihood a move does end up getting made prior to tomorrow night's game. But we'll just have to wait and see. You'll find out tomorrow when we get rolling with the pregame show around 6:20 or so here on KMOX. This is a Strike Zone Hour. We are presented by Gray Bar. Gray Bar is headquartered in St. Louis. Gray Bar is a great place to work. We'll take a break, and when we come back, we're going to preview tonight's Blues game as the Blues have a must-win against Winnipeg as they try to keep their season alive. We'll do that next right here on KMOX.
You might know Gray Bar for cable and connectivity, but there's one more thing you should know us for that can
from the real estate team who offer more options. 314-336-1991. Go to thegelmanteam.com.
Now, back to the Strike Zone, presented by Gray Bar on the voice of the Cardinals, 104.1 FM, KMOX.
We're back at it here on KMOX. It's the Gray Bar Sports Open Line, a Strike Zone hour. Just a few moments left. Got a message on our video stream. Said because we have the video stream and we leave the video stream up during commercials, but with no audio, and then people come back. So the real third man who messages every once in a while says, "Did you know that AI has a lip reader?" If you want to hear. If you want to read the lips about me and Kyle talking about what the Houston Texans are going to do in the NFL draft, feel free to throw that video through the old lip reader, and you can learn about that for sure. So let's get into the Blues because they have a must win tonight. Look, they're probably not. They need to win these next two games, but they really, really, really need to win tonight. They're not coming back from a 3-0 deficit. And we don't officially know what the changes are going to be yet. Jim Montgomery spent some time with the media earlier today and did not give up what he was going to do in terms of making some changes with the lineup. But it does look like, in all likelihood, just based off the way things were going, they're probably going to go back to the traditional 12 forward, 6 defensemen. They went 11-7 in the game 2 loss. That means that Alexander Texier, he's going to be in the lineup in all likelihood, making his playoff debut. And it means that Ryan Suter, who's been really, really good this year, is going to come out. And that's going to set up defensive pairings with Fowler and Parayko, Broberg and Falk, and then Leddy and Tucker. As far as the lines are going to look, so Thomas will probably center Buchnevich and Snuggerud, then Shin with Neighbors and Kyrou, Sundquist with Texier will be on the third line, and Zach Bolduc, and then that fourth line with Fax Torpchenko and Walker in there as well. Thought it was interesting yesterday hearing Montgomery talk about how they've got to be better in front of the other net. That is certainly a key tonight, man. In the playoffs, you got to get some of these grungy, dirty, hardworking goals. And when I say dirty, I don't mean like dirty play, but just like the hardworking side of it. And you do the deflected pucks right there at the net, things like that. Something that they've not been especially good, and they've got to be more physical with the top players for Winnipeg. This is a big night. The Blues aren't coming back from a 3-0 deficit. It's not gonna. They're in a tough spot as it is, just being down 2-0, and they got to win tonight, and they get the energy and the excitement of having their home crowd. This is something that Blues fans have been waiting for a while. A home playoff game. They want to win. They want to win this series. They want to win these next two games. I think we can take a step back and say, you know what? This has been an incredible run by this team, and they have certainly set themselves up for more good things moving forward. But before we get to that, let's just get to win this game tonight. And if they are able to do that, maybe they win the next game and they make this thing a series today. But it's going to be fun. It's going to be loud tonight. They've got the late night at the Enterprise Center this evening as they match up against Winnipeg. And hopefully we are talking about a Blues victory. Tomorrow, Cardinals baseball. I'll be with you along with Kevin Wheeler for the Redbird Rush Hour. That's going to take place from 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock. And then we'll begin Cardinals pregame a little bit after 6 o'clock. So have a wonderful night. Hopefully the Blues come away with a victory. Thanks so much for being tuned in. And we will again talk to you tomorrow, talking Cardinals baseball tomorrow, right here on your home of the Cardinals, KMOX.
Hey guys, Glover here for my friends at Underdog Fantasy Sports. Let me talk to my NBA fans out there. We have something cool